I'd like to call the meeting of the Camarillo Library Board to order. Mr. Mulchay, will you lead us? Oh, should I do the roll call first?
Trustee Tremblay? Here. Trustee Kildee?
Here.
Trustee Craven?
Here.
President Pro Tem Mulchay?
Present.
President Santangelo?
Here. Mr. Mulchay.
With pleasure. Everyone please rise. Hand over heart. Ready, begin.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Well, are there any amendments to the agenda?
No amendments.
I don't have any speaker cards. Would anybody like to address the library board? Okay, we'll move on to the consent calendar. Do I have a motion to approve? Go ahead.
Tie goes to the runner. I'll second.
I have a motion and a second. Please vote. Passes unanimously. Departmental items. Do we have a staff report?
There are no departmental items.
Okay, moving on. No legal items. And comments from staff?
None.
Comments from trustees? We will adjourn.
I'm going to open up the Camarillo Sanitary District meeting, and I'm going to let the record reflect that all board members are present. Do we have any amendments to this agenda?
No amendments.
Do we have any public comments? Would anyone at this time like to come speak before the Camarillo Sanitary District? Seeing no one rush up, we're going to move on to the consent calendar.
Move the approval.
I have one
Oh.
question as well, if you wouldn't mind.
All right, questions?
Go ahead, Tony, you want to go first?
Well, I had some questions on C, but you go first.
My question is actually on B. So let me just, it's kind of a clerical, but the CD Lion and Company, they sound familiar. Have we used them before?
Deputy Director McGovern will
Let me
help
turn
on
the
the CAMSAN
microphone.
agenda. Oh, is it not on?
I know they're out of Ventura, but go ahead. Proceed, please. Sorry.
I don't believe we've used CD Line in the past.
Okay, and they are out of Ventura,
Yes.
and we've done,
We've
some
checked
follow-ups
the
and
references.
just
They've worked
reference.
with other public agencies
Uh-huh.
in our area, and we've checked their DIR registration status, and we're in their contract status, and they're in good standing.
that's it, Mr. Mulchay. Thank you.
Mr. Tremblay?
This is on item C on the Plant 3
Yes.
blower improvements phase 1.
Yes.
Just some questions on the staff report. On page 1, big page 1 of the staff report, it indicates, and I quote, "The blower optimization improvements will result in energy savings estimated at 878,000 kilowatt hours per year, resulting in energy and maintenance cost savings of an estimated $120,000 per year." So when I factor that into calculus, do you know roughly how much is energy savings versus maintenance cost savings? How is that split out? Because it looks like an aggregate total of savings with two components, and I was trying to figure out how much energy savings was there. If you know.
Sure.
If you know.
Not sure what you're asking.
Well, what the staff report says is that the $120,000 savings per year is provided by two components in the aggregate, and one is energy, less energy costs, and the second is less maintenance costs. I was trying to figure out of the $120,000 how much is energy savings and how much is maintenance.
Yeah, I'm not
Sorry.
sure. Yeah, I'm not sure how we can figure out the percentage on each. What I can say is we currently spend approximately $400,000 in energy for the plant itself. This is a big component of that. And so cost-wise, it's probably 20 to 30% in savings, but energy consumption-wise, it's close to 70% of the overall plant use.
Okay, so where I'm leading with this is, Lucy, is it looks like an estimated construction cost of around, if I'm understanding the staff report correctly, of $876,000.
Yes.
Plus another $139,000 on the soft cost side. So it's just over $1 million. So a total cost in excess of $1 million in hard and soft costs. What's the estimate for recapture in
Yeah.
total years of that cost?
It's approximately 6 or 7 years.
6 to 7 years at the $120,000.
Yeah, and we have a $250,000 grant that we're receiving from Edison.
Okay. I'd like to hear that. Okay. All right, great. Thank you. That concludes
your
my
questions?
questions. That answers my questions.
Are there any other questions in regards to the consent calendar items?
Move the approval.
I have a motion and a second. Please vote. And that passes 5-0. I have no items for departmental, no items for legal. Any comments from staff? And any comments from the board members?
Yes, but I'm looking at my calendar. Just want to remind you that the CASA conference in Indian Wells will be January 22nd through 24th, and that's a very good conference. It has to do with, almost all of it has to do with some phase of operating sanitary treatment plants. So it's a good organization, I say as a past president and with Mr. Tremblay being on the current board.
Signed up.
All right, any other comments? All right, at this time, I'm going to adjourn the meeting to November 20th, 2019 at 5 p.m.
Okay, I'd like to call the regular Camarillo City Council meeting for November 6th to order, please, and let the record reflect all council members are present. Amendments to the agenda. Any amendments to the agenda?
No amendments.
No amendments. Precinct on consent calendar. Mr. Tremblay, you had a couple of questions on, I believe, consent calendar C and D. With C, you'd like to have that pulled, and I thought maybe we could put that down to Public Works. However, D, I think you just had a kind of a housekeeping question that you could ask right now if you feel appropriate time for do that.
Right, and if I may, real quickly, on item A, just Jeffrey, I didn't have a chance to call you. On item A, I think there's a typo down at the very bottom about what time the board adjourned, or council adjourned. Okay, okay. It would have been a very quick meeting. Okay. On C, which is the North Pleasant Valley Desalter Project Agreement Amendment, Hallie or Lucy, I'm not quite sure who to direct these questions to. The staff report indicates that there were 3 wells that were leaking, but all of the documentation I'm seeing is with respect to 2 wells, respectively. Is there a 3rd well that there were issues with?
So there's 3 locations. Each location has 3 wells, which are trying to monitor at different groundwater depths. So we have the shallow, middle, and the deeper aquifers. So 2 of those locations had the problems with those wells.
So it's the intermediate. So what you're saying is, with regard to monitoring well 3, it was both the intermediate and deep wells
Right.
for MW3, and then the intermediate well of MW1.
Yes.
Are there any additional funds being paid to Cascade by virtue of this change order? Per the letter that's attached, it appears that the answer is no. It's a no. Is it correct to think that this is a no-cost change order?
Yes.
But the difference is that, and I'm referring to big page 9, under item number 4, is that Cascade is providing a 5-year warranty and guarantee bond. That's the consideration in essence. That is it correct to think that that's the consideration in lieu of a 1-year bond? They're providing a 5-year bond. Is that what they're doing in exchange for this?
No, so what's going to happen is the city has not accepted these wells yet.
Right.
Typically what happens, it's a $2 million contract. The contract has been having very minimal change orders, and as a matter of fact, with the credits and the excesses, the contract's fairly been at the $2 million mark. So three of the wells that are going to be repaired are the value of those wells is approximately $1 million, and then the other the wells that do not need repairs is the other $1 million. So what we've tentatively negotiated, or what Cascade has agreed to do, is for those wells that do not have to be repaired, which is the $1 million value, will be warranted per contract, which is 1 year.
1 year.
After acceptance of the project. And
Okay.
those wells that are being repaired, which is the other $1 million, they're going to be warranted for 5 years.
That's what I was getting at. So we have an extra 4 years on those wells in which the casings were leaking.
Yeah.
Right?
Only for those wells that got repaired. Yeah,
Okay.
they're going to get repaired.
Okay. That answers my question on C.
Do you want to proceed with D, Mr. Tremblay?
I do, but I think it's a question, this is a question for Joe. Lucy, thank you. Question for Joe on the ratification of Chapter 9 of the Fire Protection District Ordinance number 31. I'm sorry I didn't have a chance to speak with you or with Lucy prior to the meeting. If I'm understanding this, these are simply findings that the council is making, correct? There are no changes to the standards, correct?
Well, we're supporting the update for the ordinance that's going to be adopted or being adopted by the county to implement the fire protection districts.
But all you're asking us to do is to adopt these Chapter 9 findings, right?
Adopt a resolution
Isn't
with
that the-
findings, correct.
Okay. Okay, that's my question. Thanks.
I'd like to make a motion for,
Move the approval of the consent calendar minus item C. Was it C?
Well, no, I just finished asking my questions
Oh, you
on
just
C and
asked
D,
the
so
so
if you're okay with it, make a motion on
Okay.
all of it and I'll
For
second.
the consent calendar, period.
And items A through D, and I'll second that.
Yes.
there's a motion to second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, please vote. That passes unanimously. Okay, that gets down to Public Works. It's a traffic signal improvements at Las Posas and Temple. Do we have a staff report on that?
Yes, Your Honor, we have a CIP engineer from the CIP division to present.
I have the microphone. Yes. Okay.
Good evening, Mayor Kildee and council members. So staff is here to present this item today to request authorization to advertise a request for qualifications for design of traffic signal improvements at Las Posas and Temple. So here's the location of the proposed project. As you can see, it encompasses the intersection there at Las Posas and Temple. So the project will replace the existing traffic signals at Las Posas and Temple to add left turn arrows to all four directions of the intersection. The project will include installation of new poles, foundations, longer mast arms, conduit, and wiring. Replacing the pole and adding a longer mast arm will allow placement of the signal head directly in the driver's line of sight in front of the left turn pocket. As part of the project, the curb ramps will also be updated to meet current accessibility standards. So here's a close-up, and you can see that mast arm there. So next steps, with council's approval, staff will advertise a request for qualifications to hire a design consultant. The estimated project costs, you can see, are $100,000 for design and $450,000 for construction. And construction is programmed in fiscal year 2021. Thank you.
All right, are there any questions? I have a question Maybe you could get into a little bit more detail about what the benefit to the public for this will be.
Yeah, and maybe I could ask Jason, our traffic engineer, to come up here and help answer that.
Certainly. Mayor Kildee, Mayor Pro Tem, I'm sorry, Vice Mayor Tremblay, and council members. We did a study of this intersection about a year ago, and we determined that there was a site visibility issue for southbound left turning Temple, and also there was a accident history, but not a serious one. There just were some accidents for northbound left turns on Temple onto Las Posas. So the benefits for left turn phasing on Temple would be to improve safety. On east-west Las Posas, there really wasn't a traffic collision pattern. However, the traffic volumes are high enough, and there is a potential that vehicles wishing to turn left onto Temple from Las Posas would have to wait potentially multiple cycles to make that left turn. So the left turn phasing for Las Posas would improve efficiency for those drivers.
And do you feel, as far as the synchronization of the lights, that will this affect the synchronization of that, or do you think you can, make that work with the flow and not disrupt that to a certain extent?
Well, I believe our staff can make the flow work even with the left turn phasing. Mm-hmm. However, it's understandable that there could be some delay based on the number of vehicles turning left, because the left turn phasing would be extended based on the number of vehicles in the queue. So if a lot of vehicles are making a left turn, then it could potentially delay through traffic on Las Posas.
But I think the benefits far outweigh that as far as that goes, and we feel that we can definitely do enough background and make sure that we can make it as palatable as possible.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Oh, yes.
Okay. All right. Any other questions, Mr. Mulchay?
What constitutes design? Is that literally just simply the design, not the fabrication of or anything like that? That's all included in construction?
Correct. The design costs you see there, the $100,000, would include the consultant's staff time and also staff time as well.
Why is that number so particularly high, considering we already have traffic signals there, and all we're effectively doing, I know we're putting in new poles, but we're simply changing a few lights. In the whole scheme of things, we're providing dedicated turn signals, right? So why $100,000 for designing, or essentially redesigning, tweaking something we effectively already have?
Well, a lot of those costs will go into preparing the plans and specifications, getting it out to bid, the staff time to do that as well. So we'll be designing new foundations and poles, longer mast arms. So all of that design will be included in that $100,000 as well.
Would this be similar to if there were no poles there at all and we were doing this from scratch? Or is this cheaper then?
Sure, most of those cost savings would be included in the construction since there are existing poles there. But the design, again, we'll redesign that intersection with new foundations and poles. So it would be similar for design costs if there weren't any there.
Okay, thanks.
Any other questions?
No, I have a comment.
Comments, Mrs. Craven?
Yeah, I think this is really needed. It's especially needed, well, for people turning left either way on Temple, but it's also needed for people on Las Posas, because for some reason, when people are going to turn left, they go way over to the right. I don't know why. But, there's a left turn, and 10 to 1, they're way, if they're westbound, they're right on those dots. And it's almost impossible to see around them, so a lot of people have to wait until all of the traffic that's westbound is cleared if you're trying to go eastbound and make a left turn. So I think this is really going to improve the flow, and I'll just have it noted that it was Mr. Tremblay who asked for this. It was not me. And I do not live within 500 feet of this. I have a map here to prove it.
I'm very glad to see this as well.
Any other comments? Yeah.
I support this. This is one of the, thank you, Mr. Tremblay, but this is one of the intersections that's been on my radar that I hear about quite frequently. So I think this is a good improvement.
It's also one of the few on Las Posas that doesn't have dedicated left turn lights.
Any other comments, Mr. Mulchay?
No, I'll further agree in that this is much needed. I think it's one of a few key intersections throughout our city that kind of need to be looked at, reanalyzed, and potentially improved. This intersection particularly, I understand the dangerous nature of, because it was just a few years ago that I got a call that my grandfather got T-boned in this intersection coming off down Temple by a lady who ran a red light and flipped his truck over. And so, yeah, and he was attempting to make a left turn there. So I completely understand the need. This one hits home personally with me. So this has been an intersection on my radar. Mr. Tremblay, thank you very much for raising the concern and seeing this through.
Okay. Any other comments? What's the will of the council?
Could I move this suggested
Certainly.
action?
I'll second.
A motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, please vote. That passes unanimously. All right, that gets down to City Manager's Community Event Funding Agreement for the 2020 to 22 Summer Concert Series. So do we have a staff report on that?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. On February 13, 2019, the City Council approved a community funding agreement for a 4-concert season co-produced with the Pleasant Valley Recreation and Park District. The agreement provided $60,000 cash to the district and another estimated $8,330 in city direct services, which included porta potties, security fencing and lighting, and in-kind staff support. After completing the successful concert series, the district provided me with a recap and financial accounting of their production cost. As seen in Exhibit 1, revenues exceeded expenditures by over $10,000 for the production of the 4-concert series, thereby covering all of PVRPD's expenses and a majority of the city's $14,138.65 in direct event cost and in-kind support. You'll note that the $14,000 is obviously more than the $8,000 we anticipated spending. However, this was the first time that the city was directly involved in the co-production of this, and we really wanted to ensure that we had proper oversight on that. It's also noted that those expenses are not hard dollar expenses. They're staff expenses where people are already working. They're just shifting their time to that particular project. So the level of oversight that we experienced this for the 2019 series will not be needed in future years. So as per the terms of the February 13th community support agreement, the $10,000 in net income is being returned to the city to defray a majority portion of the city's direct event cost and in-kind staff support. What we're proposing going forward is a 3-year agreement between the city and the district. And the district's proposed budget for a 4-concert series for 2020 estimates expenses of $65,610. But when we take into account the anticipated revenues from food truck fees, sponsorships, and donations of approximately $5,600, which is the same amount of revenue that was collected in 2019 for the event. The resulting 2020 season is expected to break even at $60,000, except for approximately the city's provided direct expenses of $3,819 in in-kind staffing support and $6,841 in direct services, for a total of $10,660. The community event funding agreement is proposed for a term of 3 years to cover 2020, 2021, and the 2022 concert seasons. The 3-year agreement will assist the district in contracting for bands and technical services in the late summer and early fall when venues and bands are typically making arrangements for the succeeding summer concert season. There was a particular challenge in this first year because we didn't have that time. We were coming to you in February, and we really just had to move forward. Bands are usually being locked up by the fall, and so by having a 3-year agreement, it gives the PVR-PD a lot more flexibility in moving forward with arrangements for succeeding concert years. District staff will be actively working with community partners and soliciting sponsorships and donations for the event. Per the agreement, any vendor fee revenue, sponsorships, or donations received by either the district or the city for the summer concert series will be used in the following order to defray the district's unforeseen and necessary expenditures above the $60,000 or defray the city's cash outlay to the district. Any excess funding will be held in reserve by the district for the subsequent concert series. If the district decides not to organize and manage and market and produce the 2023 concert series after the 3 years is up, then any of those funds being held in reserve will be given back to the city for future use with another vendor. Both staffs have reviewed available dates for the concerts to avoid conflicts with major community events, including the Fiesta, Wings Over Camarillo Air Show, Party for the Parks, and the district's movie and the park series. The dates chosen are the 2nd and 4th Saturdays of the months of June and July. Now, district staff is recommending that we go with the 2-week schedule because they receive feedback the regular attendees missed the previous twice-a-month concert schedule and the regularity of that. So as a result, the 4 concerts have been concentrated in June and July. Now, if additional revenues are available, the district is willing to extend the concert series into August, but that's fully dependent on any funding that may come available. The district board is expected to take action on the proposed agreement tomorrow night, and counsel of the agreement will enable the district to timely hire the musical acts and production contractors for the season. That concludes my report.
Any questions at this time?
I do.
Mr. O'Shea?
Yeah. And I see Mrs. Otten here. Maybe most of my questions are probably best directed at her.
That's fine.
Maybe if you wouldn't mind stating your name and.
Good evening, Mary Otten, General Manager for Pleasant Valley Recreation Park District. I also have with me Eric Story, who's the Recreation Manager, who also oversaw the events for this summer.
Kind of more exploratory question more than anything. When it came to marketing, I was wondering what you guys thought was most effective when it came to marketing, and if you anticipate changing that up in the coming years.
I'm going to let Eric answer that since he oversaw most of the marketing side.
Good evening. It's an integrated approach. So we did a little bit of print, we did a little bit of online, we did a lot of word of mouth. So we do site activation. So when we go to our own events as well as other community events, we publicize, we market all of our events to include this event as a co-produced event. We're looking to expand that. I've just brought on additional marketing staff to support these efforts, and we fully expect to do that with this event as well as all of our events.
Is there one channel or avenue that you guys are going to double down on? Do you think would be rather fruitful if you put more time or effort into it or money?
No, but we're willing to explore and push boundaries and really take feedback and constructive criticism, or unconstructive, if you will, to give the people what they want.
When it came to attendance, I mean, I was there. I have no way of kind of gauging what the exact approximate attendance was. Do you guys have approximate attendance numbers for the 4 events?
In our report to Mr. Norman, we estimated 10,000 across the 4-part series. So some events were a little bit better attended, if you will, or more attended. Others, not as much. As part of this year internally with my team, we're going to go ahead and set some goals as well as find ways. Something like this, when it's unticketed, you can't really do head counts. Right. We're going to try, though. That way, our report to Mr. Norman at the end of this year will, or at the end of 2020 will include estimated attendance numbers per event.
And then what do you hope to change when it comes to just general operations, specifically things that will generate either sponsorships or revenue? I saw a somewhat incremental and an evolution amongst the 4 events I attended over this last summer. What of those do you think worked well, and what do you hope to adopt different going forward?
Yeah, that's a multi-answer question, or I have a couple answers for you. One is now that we're going to have a couple extra months to work on this, as well as having a year under our belt, my community partnerships team is going to hit the ground running already. And having the dates and lining up the bands is going to help with that as well. Second is a lot of people didn't, without somebody going around with a hat or a bag or whatever asking for money, people didn't know. So I know the ordinance is we no longer can do that, but we'll have a booth set up for that, as well as better signage and announcements. I think just an overall approach to tweaking little things. We don't want to mess with the spirit of the event, but just really fine-tuning some of the details to make it an overall experience.
I have one or maybe 2 suggestions, and I saw it kind of hanging out by the tent, by the PVRPD tent, seeing what people were coming up and saying. Besides, it's really, really loud, but that's kind of expected. But a lot of people really enjoyed the beach balls, and a lot of kids were coming up looking for the glow sticks. And I just saw it as an opportunity. I know, a lot of people at concerts, we don't want to be holding up lighters much anymore, but they'll either turn their phone on and hold that up, or the kids will want to run around and or hold up glow sticks or whatnot. And I thought that was maybe an opportunity to sell those, potentially to generate additional revenue to defray costs. And just little knickknacks like that, I think people really enjoy at concerts.
We're taking notes right now as we speak, and we'll get more beach balls, and we'll find a way to get the light up sticks.
All right. Otherwise, you kind of already touched on it, but I wanted to make sure you guys have goals and objectives. Can you share what are your goals and objectives as it pertains to sponsorships and or revenue generation?
In general, I mean, anytime we can do a cost savings overall with these series, it's beneficial to not only the community, the city, and the district. In terms of attendance is one of them we talked about. I want to try and hit at least 10,000 again, if not grow that. In terms of sponsorships and revenues, we want to hit about 10,000 this year, and having those few extra months is going to allow us to hit, again, boots on the ground and get phone calls out. We're still internally waiting to see if this comes to fruition first, tonight and tomorrow, but I'm sure my team and I, early next week, will be game planning.
Well, I think if you reach out to the community and you ask for support and you ask for help, from the people I've talked to, there's more than enough people who are willing to assist in whatever way they can. I think a lot of people, the community sees value in this event. They saw value in it before you guys took it over. They see value. They continue to see value in it now that this transition has occurred. So I think there's tons of support in the community if we just simply ask.
We do have a short list already, and that list is growing in terms of who we're going to call. We have a few people at the top of the list, so we'll make those calls as soon as this is official.
Thanks.
Any other questions?
I have a couple comments. Go ahead.
Susan?
One of the things, I spent a lot of time at your booth as well, which was really good actually, because I got to hear a lot of the feedback from the community. So one of the things that I heard frequently was handicapped parking, accessible parking. So do you have plans to maybe try to retool that?
What we did was, in working with your staff this last year, is we actually allocated more ADA parking than is typically found here at City Hall. We did that by design to make the summer concert series more inclusive. We're definitely going to reevaluate some of the site plan. I know in your packet that is an example, and we're not going to tweak too many things, but definitely part of that is the messaging, making sure people know, hey, arrive early. But the second part is we're going to evaluate that again to see if there's other opportunities that could better serve attendees of the event.
Okay. Thank you.
Ms. Craven?
Oh, I just had a couple of comments. First of all, thank you for this very thorough report. It was very good. I appreciated the detail. I appreciated the detail that you put into it. I have had, in various places, people saw me and talked to me. The people that were talking to me, I think, are people who maybe weren't talking to other people, but they were people who, for some reason or another, are not on the internet. They don't do Facebook. They don't do all that. And they had a comment that if in your spring booklet or whichever booklet it's advertised in, you had a little thing as to where to send donations. I mean, they could look at the cover, but the 3 people said it, and so I'm assuming there are more people when 3 people took the time to tell me this. Put something that donations are accepted, and here's where you send them. That's all I can say.
We'll definitely do better outreach in terms of that, making sure the messaging is out there, making sure the community knows.
These are people who had donated to the Arts Council every year, and I don't know how much, but they felt that they would like to continue to donate.
We'll make it better advertised.
Anything else? Mr. Moshe?
Sorry, I thought of 2 more questions. One, the selection of the performers. You guys crowdsourced that last year. Do you anticipate doing that again or switching that up in any way?
This last year, we crowdsourced the genres.
Right.
And then what we did was between district staff and city staff, we had interviews, and we kind of went through and identified who would best fit the genre. We fully intend to do something similar in terms of making sure the community has a voice in terms of what they want to hear in the genre. And then district staff, and if city staff want to be involved, of course, we'll go ahead and make those decisions, understanding the budget and the price points and all that.
In regards to the budget, there's just 2 line items that saw rather large, or significant notable increases from this last one, and that was under performer expenses and sound. What do you attribute those to?
With the first year of us having this partnership, bringing on Rock City Studios, we've worked with them a lot. They gave us a friendly neighborhood discount, if you will. They said that they cannot take the hit on that anymore. So, of course, we're going to continue to work with anybody that wants to provide, that opportunity to provide sound. The other thing we might do is scale back, as we all know, it was a little loud. So we might scale back the production of that. That way it's still a great concert, a great series, but not as loud or expensive.
Well, I should add, if you're sitting in front of the speaker, it's going to be really loud. But if you're at the back of the park, because I walked around the whole park, when you're at the back of the park, particularly next to the great couple who do this like picnic stuff, they have like a fine dining experience on the park bench.
The champagne and everything.
It's awesome. I love it. It's like perfect back there. And so for the people it's really loud for, I mean, people who want, you go to a concert, it's going to be loud. But for those who are back, the further you get away from those speakers, then whatever. But.
Well, to add on to that point, it is internally staff, we do after actions after every event where everybody sees something differently. What was supposed to happen, what happened, why was there a difference? A lot of times it was the communication of it is, hey, if you're going to sit right next to a speaker, it might be loud. So we'll go ahead and make sure that we address those items and make sure that the community is aware that sitting next to speakers will probably be loud, as well as the dancing and having fun in general. So
I guess and this is the top of my head, I guess one thought would be, because I think all of the sound was emanating from the 2 speakers that flank the stage. But if you have more speakers, then technically they'll be closer to individuals. You could technically lower the volume being emitted from each respective speaker, so it's not insanely loud for people who are sitting up front, but it gives more of, it's not surround sound, but
probably more cost.
It's probably definitely is more cost, but I don't know if that's worth exploring because all the sound is emanating from those 2 key speakers in the front. To get all the way to the back, you got to pump a lot of sound through that. So I don't know if there's options to add, albeit maybe smaller, more speakers. I don't know. I'll let you guys figure that out, but I thought. So, but thank you. I think you guys did a terrific job.
They did.
Any comments, Mr. Lee?
I fully support this, and I really appreciate the collaboration and the cooperation between Recreation and Park District and the city and all the time that staff has spent on this. It's a unique community event every year, and I'm just extremely happy that the Recreation and Park District together with the city has picked this up and run with it. So thank you.
Yes.
I just wanted to, did anybody else notice on big page 15, the expense for performers in 2017? So I'm pleased to see that we're spending less money. I know that there were more events in 2017, but you know,
More costly.
apparently.
Quite a bit more costly.
So I just wanted to point that out. But a couple things. I really wanted to commend everybody that worked on this. I had a really great time. I got so much good feedback, and I know that pulling it together in just a few short months was a feat. So it was well run. I think the performers that were chosen were great. It's funny because they weren't really necessarily all but when I got out there, they appealed, despite their genre, they seemed to appeal to people outside, just there for that genre of music, if that made any sense. I too, sitting at that booth, there were a number of people coming up saying, why aren't you passing the hat? We want to give money. So I agree with everything about, really reaching out to the community. I know it'd be great if we could eventually add more events, and I think there's people in the community that would help make that happen. So I know you've got that, so I just wanted to kind of make that comment. And what else? Oh, and the beach balls and glow sticks. I think we were sitting there together going, we should sell these. So, it's a couple bucks here and there, but it would be great fun. And the kids really, they would see one and they would come be like, where can we buy those? Are you selling those? The beach balls. So it was a lot of fun.
The Optimist used to sell them.
Along with the
So that's all. So thank you to city staff and your staff. It was really well done. Thank you.
Anybody else?
Move the approval.
Second.
I have a comment, if you might. I'm hoping that perhaps August we can see if budget allows us to still have a concert in August. And I'll tell you why. I think it kind of signifies the end of summer, and it's always kind of a nice event to have a concert that kind of signifies to a certain extent the end of summer. So totally support what you're doing here. But if budget, in the previous years as a roll around to us, perhaps if there's some extra dollars that we might be able to consider a concert. And I do, as the other council members, I want to thank the Park and Rec for stepping up, and the city and the council members and the staff here. It wouldn't have happened without you. And this is part of the, fabric of our community here, and it's a very, very important event for our community here. So I commend you for stepping up, and it must have gone okay because you're back with us again and want to keep doing it, so that's a really good thing. So it's nice the partnership with the Park and Rec on this. This is kind of a nexus that seems to work. So know it's a lot of work for you. All the council members were at many of the concerts here and really had a good time this summer, and I think it's even going to be better. So with that, I believe somebody had made a motion. Did anybody make a motion on that?
And a second.
A motion and a second. Okay. So is there any further discussion? Hearing none, please vote. And that passes unanimously. Again, thank you. All right, so that is going to get us down to, let's do the new business oral communication. Mr. City Manager, anything tonight for us?
Yes, I do. Thank you. I would like to update the City Council and the community on the efforts we have made in communicating with Southern California Edison on the Public Safety Power Shutoff Program. SCE is reviewing all circuits and regions that are heavily impacted by the PSPSs, the public safety power shutoffs, more specifically looking at the ability to restore the load quickly when it is safe to do so. Regarding the Esteban circuit, there are several underground locations within the Camarillo community that may be temporarily moved to another circuit to minimize outage times. However, this will require manual operation of equipment, and therefore customers will experience some outages during these PSP events. SCE may have the ability to move the load prior to a declared PSPS event, but this is dependent upon many factors and field crew availability. Unfortunately, this will not allow power to be on for the entire Las Posas Estates, Sterling Hills, and Spanish Hills neighborhoods, but will allow for a significant portion of these areas to retain power. The Esteban Circuit originates near the intersection. It's actually at the intersection of Bradley Road and Highway 118, which is Los Angeles Avenue and Somas. If you want to, you can go see the substation that's sitting right there, and that's the beginning of the Esteban Circuit. It then runs west along Highway 118 and then extends south on Center School Road to bring power to portions of Las Posas Estates, Sterling Hills, and the Spanish Hills neighborhoods. The Esteban Circuit provides service to customers on both the north and south sides of Highway 118. The high fire risk areas, which are mostly on the north side of Highway 118, have led to the recent PSPS events on the Esteban Circuit during October 2019. SCE is also working to refine the circuit maps, since a few of them overlap in areas within Camarillo neighborhoods. Once the city receives updated maps, we will update the city's website and share them with the community. Southern California Edison understands that they are having a huge impact on our community and will continue to work directly with city staff to provide us with information that we can share with the community. Moving on, our Community Development Department hosted a series of workshops for public input on the future reuse of two Old Town properties, the former courthouse at 2220 Ventura Boulevard and Disdar Park, and the former fire station at the southeast corner of Ventura Boulevard and Glen Drive. At the most recent workshop held on September 24th, alternative concept plans were discussed for both sites. The public had an opportunity to comment and provide feedback, and the concept plans have been made available on the city's website. At the next City Council meeting on November 20th, the city's consultant will make a presentation to the City Council on the feedback received from the public on the concept plans. Staff will request direction from the City Council, specifically that you select one concept plan for each site for further study. Following the November 20th City Council meeting, the city's consultant will prepare a refined site plan, 3D rendering, and cost estimate for the selected concept plan for each site. A final report on the steps for implementation and schedule will be presented to the Planning Commission and City Council for consideration at a later date. And then finally, in response to the comments received from our community over the past few weeks by phone and email, as well as in person at the City Council meetings on October 9th and October 23rd, we followed up with a letter to our County Supervisor Kelly Long on the subject of industrial hemp and the odor caused by these plants. The purpose of the letter was to raise awareness about the odor that has permeated our community from the industrial hemp fields that surround Camarillo and to shed light on the concerns we have received. The letter explained that this is not an issue we can handle alone. Rather, this is an issue that requires coordination and collaboration with the Board of Supervisors to protect the public health and welfare of our community. Yesterday, I attended the Board of Supervisors meeting speaking on the medical cannabis item. I asked the Board of Supervisors to take action on protecting the city of Camarillo from the nuisance of both cannabis and hemp odors, which are causing illness in some individuals, business interruption, and threats of residents and businesses leaving the city. I will be attending the next Board of Supervisors meeting on October 19th, which will be held in Moore Park, where they will receive a report from the Ventura County Agricultural Commissioner on industrial hemp cultivation. The November 19th meeting is an off-site meeting of the Board of Supervisors starting at 6:00 p.m. at the Moore Park Community Center, located at 799 Moore Park Road in the Apricot Room. We will continue to keep the council and our community updated on our efforts to address this important issue to the community. Thank you very much.
Any questions or anything? All right. Mr. Dave, did Edison mention anything about a timeline, or is it just sort of, they're going to, I don't mean to put you on a spot, but is it something that is something that they're going to have a discussion on? It's still in a discussion phase here, or they?
Well, they are working with their engineers at this point to evaluate the circuits involved, because the last thing you want to do is offload electrical load to another circuit only to have that circuit overloaded and go down when it wasn't intended to do that. So they need to do some more engineering work on that, but they do have a plan that they are working towards. We're hoping in a couple weeks we're going to get final word on that in terms of the resolution and a finality to that issue. But as you can imagine, they have communities all over Ventura County that are asking for the very same thing. We're not the only one who's been affected. So they have a lot of work to do all over the place. And, but we're keeping them on task here.
Okay. All right, very good. Mr. Tremblay had a question?
Yeah, Dave, so Mr. Gonzalez from Southern California Edison was here at the end of September.
Yes.
And we asked him a whole series of questions.
Yes, we did.
Which he indicated he would respond back to, and the city followed it up with a letter dated October 21.
That's correct.
Asking those questions. Has Edison responded to our October 21 letter yet?
We do not have a written response from Edison at this point.
The thing I'm concerned about is our letter deals not just with that one circuit. It's far broader than that.
That's correct.
And there are a lot of questions that were posed with respect to the protocol. And I would ask that we request Edison to respond in writing as soon as feasible.
I have made that request a few times now.
Well, we're waiting on Edison.
And they know we're waiting.
Okay.
Okay, Mr. Mulchay?
Dave, one quick question to, not on Edison, but on the Disdar parking courthouse. The plans, will there be preliminary cost estimates
Joe,
in addition to those plans? With those plans?
No, with the exception of two components, and that would be for restrooms and a potential splash pad. But other than that, we don't have any preliminary cost estimates.
So there'll be preliminary cost estimates on an addition of a restroom, the addition, a potential addition of a restroom, potential addition of a splash pad, but not on preliminary overall cost on the projects as a whole.
Correct.
Ooh,
Why not?
it'd be hard to select one.
That wasn't originally scoped. I mean, we have some time, so we can try to consider that.
That would be really beneficial to
Yeah.
our discussion, I think, at least my weighing and consideration.
Okay, and the reason to answer your question, why not, is because the entire public outreach campaign has been designed around what the community desires and what the council kind of desires without giving it a price tag, so to speak, that would potentially limit design ideas and concepts.
No, I completely understand that. I know there were a few questions asked at those as people were wondering what is this going to cost and where the money's going to come from. So I think that is an important topic that we should address and cover. So, that's all I got. Thank you.
Counselor, anything tonight?
I have no items tonight.
Okay, do we have time for council comments? What time we got?
Mr. Mayor, I'd prefer we move to study session.
Okay.
We do have
So
two
with that, we are
substantial
going to
items.
recess to study session. We'll be back at 7:30. I will reconvene the City Council meeting to order, please. Let the record reflect that all the council members are in attendance. I'm going to ask Mrs. Craven if she'd lead us in a flag salute, please.
Certainly. Please rise, place your hand over your heart, and join me in the pledge to the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, so we do have one presentation. It's the American Legion's 100th anniversary, and I'd like if individuals would please come over here to the foyer. I have a certificate of recognition for you folks.
First vice, my second vice, and my chaplain with me.
All right, great. It's truly my pleasure and honor to present this certificate of recognition to the American Legion, and I've had the distinct pleasure to give several of these out, but none are more memorable than the American Legion. I want to commend all of you and your posts for your great work that you do, and we're kind of in a time where a lot of the institutions are kind of, shall we say, not where they should be. American Legion is one of the finest institutions in our country, and I want to commend you folks and all your members for making that so. It is super important that we keep all of this alive and well in our great country. I want to present to you its 100th anniversary. I mean, that is incredible, 100 years. I won't read it all, but I want to read just a little bit here, if you'll allow me to indulge myself. The American Legion was founded in March of 1919 by U.S. military First War military personnel dedicated to the 4 pillars of service and advocacy: veterans, military personnel, youth, and patriotic values. The American Legion has built a legacy of dedicated service to veterans, the military, families, and communities since its founding. And it's my honor to present this to you, gentlemen, for 100 years, and I'm hoping we'll go at least another 100 years and maybe even 100 more years of that. And the great work that you do locally is unparalleled, and I really, really appreciate you being here. It's my distinct honor, along with the council and our staff here, to present this certificate of recognition on the American Legion 100th anniversary. And I'm going to ask you if you'd please introduce your individuals here, and if any of you would like to make a comment, it's appropriate to do that as such.
Sure. I'm Jim Herron. I'm the commander of the American Legion Post, and I brought with me my first vice, my second vice, and my chaplain. So my first vice is Jeff Palacio, my chaplain is Dan Crow, and my second vice is Dennis Furco. And we turned 100 back in March, but on Monday we'll have a kind of a small celebration, but a celebration for Veterans Day and Armistice. The end of the war in 1919 took place on that day 100 years ago. So they actually stood up the American Legion before the end. It was the end of hostilities, but the formal end of hostilities back at that time frame. And we've been in Camarillo since 1946, as we were established here. 46. 46. The charter is 47, but we've been in Camarillo since 46. So we've got a long standing of working with the community here. We're an all-volunteer organization. We only have 2 paid employees there. So the folks that you see wearing these caps and around town doing stuff, it's all from their heart and volunteered. So with that, I'll pass it down to Jeff, see if he has anything. Anybody else want to say anything?
Sure. Don't hand me the microphone. Yeah. We do have a Navy, we have a Marine, and an Army, and a Seabee representing here, okay? Our post is absolutely fantastic. We also have our Sons of the American Legion, obviously our auxiliary, the American Legion Auxiliary, ladies organization. which has changed. They made an amendment to bring in the spouses of the female veterans. So they can join the auxiliary, because there was no place for them, no group that they could be. They could go to the meetings, but they couldn't say nothing. So, but anyway, I do want to thank you, and Kevin, thank you. Charlotte, several of you I've seen and around for quite a few years. I do want to thank, and this, for the bingo permit that you allowed us to have as a fundraiser, and it's really paying off. I say that. So thank you very much for that.
Thank you. Stay here. We want to get a picture. Get us all in.
Your Honor. Your Honor.
Any comments from Ms. Craven?
Yeah, I want to thank each of you for your service to our country, and I want to thank the American Legion Group for all the things they do around here. And I think the two that are most notable to the public are the flags at the corner right here at Constitution Park, at our Veterans Memorial, every holiday. And I've had so many people comment to me how nice they are and thank the city for putting it up. And I say the city doesn't do that. The American Legion does. And it really adds something to the community, especially on patriotic holidays. Also, the flags out at the memorial, out at the cemetery for Memorial Day. So thank you for everything else you do around here, too.
Thank you. Tremblay, do you have something?
I think Mrs. Craven said it best, but I want to reiterate something. Thank you, all of you individually, for your great service. And then thank you to the American Legion for all of the things that you do for our community. You truly bless our community, and we're very grateful. Thank you.
Well, I'm going to sound like broken records here, but thank you, each of you, for your service and for all that you do for our community. Everybody knows you in our community, and we appreciate all you do, and congratulations on the 100 years.
Mr. Mulchay?
I will do the same, and thank you very much for your service to our country. Thank you for your service to our community. Thank you for everything you do. I think there's a lot of people who don't know what it is you do and the services you guys provide to our community. And there are some you guys are kind of unsung heroes in many respects. But I greatly appreciate it. I've been to the American Legion there a few times. I appreciate the post. I like the cold beer. And, and thank you for everything you guys do.
Thank you very much. All right, public comments? Any public comments tonight? Wait a minute. I've been doing this a long time, and this is one of the first times we have not had any public comments.
They moved out of town.
Okay. Do you want to come up and let me turn the mic on? There we go. If you could just state your name, I'd appreciate it.
Bernice Delatorre, and I'm a resident here for over 40 years. And I don't know if you guys have it on the agenda. You guys sent out a flyer about the water, that you guys are going to put it up real high. And I'm wondering why. Why only us in Camarillo do we have to pay such high prices for our water, our trash, and sewer? I see all the other towns, Moore Park, Oxnard pays less than we do. And I'm concerned about it. I wish more people would have really come out and asked, why is it that we pay more?
Well, it's not on the agenda, but we can get a staff member. You could either meet with the staff member. There's a lot of data, and there's a lot of...
the flyer said it was going to be today.
I'm sorry?
No.
The flyer said it was going to be today.
I thought the flyer said, isn't it next time?
The 20th?
The public hearing is...
Yeah.
20, yeah, so next week, yeah.
The public
Oh,
hearing
I
is
got
on
it
November
wrong.
20th.
Well, then I'll come back and I'll...
Okay.
And we'll have the staff member here to
Right.
answer all your questions.
We have a lot of
Oh, okay.
information available.
Okay. In
Yes.
the meantime, I'm going to rile up some people to come in here and tell you guys, hey, don't do this to us, because it's not fair. We're paying way higher than all these other towns and communities, So, thank you.
Okay, thank you.
So much.
Thank you.
Good to see you, Kevin.
Good to see you too.
Charlotte.
Anyone else? Okay, so that's going to get us back. We did the city manager, city attorney, so it's a city council for a new business oral communication. Anybody like to start us off? Ms. Santangelo, do you want to start us off today?
I did not attend any meetings, but on the 24th, I was at the Casa Pacifica ribbon cutting and the naming of their new buildings, which was exciting for me representing the city, but also as an employee. And then I was on vacation, so I didn't do anything else. I did want to say a few things. First of all, I appreciate, Mr. Norman, your efforts with the Board of Supervisors. I, too, have reached out myself to Supervisor Long and have not heard anything back yet from her, so I'm hoping to speak with her. I wanted to remind everybody that tomorrow is the dedication of the Healing Garden for the borderline tragedy, and that's at Conejo Creek North, and I believe the public part of the dedication starts at 3:15 in the afternoon. And happy Veterans Day to all our veterans who have served, and thank you for your service, and I hope you enjoy your day off. I hope you have a day off.
Okay. Ms. Craven, anything tonight?
Oh, I have a lot of things. I attended the Cedar Oak ribbon cutting, and I really enjoyed that. It's the city council had a lot to do with the planning. Some of the plans that we made were unrealistic and had to be changed, but it turned out very well. I thought it turned out very well, and I appreciate their dedication to finding tenants for the businesses downstairs that have history in the county. They're known quantities, and I think they're going to be successful, and I think it's all going to work out very, very well. I like the big room that has several businesses in it, a brewery, an ice cream place, and a pizza place, all owned by different people. I think it's going to be, I'm not sure about the ice cream with the beer, but maybe that's for the kids and eating their pizza. I don't know. I think it's going to work out very well. And I was impressed with the rental units up on top. My husband reads a lot of stuff I claim I don't have time to read. And so this thing came to us called Top Pros, Everything for Your Home and Garden Mag, October 2019. And he was looking through it and said, you might be interested in this. So here's a contractor that has taken, it says, take advantage of California's new ADU laws while they're in effect. In other words, this guy thinks they're going to go out of effect. But ADU, for those of you watching on television, is accessory dwelling unit. His main advertisement says, do you need to expand your living space, or do you want to generate a monthly rental income? If yes, call us about your garage conversions. 35% off. I just, and he's going to take care of all the permits. I'm hoping he gets permits, because you can't convert a garage and not give more parking spaces if you're not going to rent it out. If you are going to rent it out, it's something else. Anyway, I just thought that was really interesting. I hadn't seen a contractor jump on that yet. I also have some articles here from the UCSB alumni magazine. I'm not an alumni there, but my daughter is. And there are several articles on cannabis growth in Santa Barbara County. The one that jumped out at me, and I keep interrupting myself, but it talks here about you can get 3 to 5 crops a year, growing crops a year. But the article that I think is noteworthy. Last time we talked about this, I kept talking about inside buildings with air scrubbers, and I was talking about filters similar to what they have in recycling facilities, in composting facilities where they have to filter the air, or a lot of industries. Well, this professor talks about her concerns. Nobody has ever tested the air, and the air scrubbers aren't really air scrubbers. What it is a lot of machines that put an oil mist out. The mist is patented, so the one company that makes it will not tell what's in it. And people complain about the smell of the mist as well as the smell of the cannabis, but she feels there's an air quality problem from all of this stuff going into the air, and she would like the air quality boards to start testing what it is and if there's any effect on humans, and I'll give that to the city clerk for her to pass around to everybody. I noted yesterday or Monday, when Trevor and I went to play at Mel Vincent Park, that restrooms are going in there. There was such a demand for restrooms at a large park that didn't have restrooms, so I think we ought to take note of that when we talk about our parks. Public, especially if there are places where people are going to gather other than a small neighborhood park where people from like Adolfo Park, people from that area mainly go there other than people to have lunch. I just think that we might want to note that, but the restrooms will be ready fairly soon, I guess. And then I have to say, a couple meetings ago when we evaluated the city manager, I was asleep at the wheel or I was thinking of something else because everybody else spoke and I didn't. And so I want to take this time to say that I have been a council member with 5 city managers and 1 long-term acting city manager. That long-term was about a year. And for 17 years, I think it is, many things were really let go in this city. Things were started and they just kind of drifted here and there and they haven't come to fruition. And you came and you jumped on them and you have started to get things done, and I'm really impressed, and I think you've done a really good job. That's all I have.
Mr. Tremblay? Thank you.
On meetings attended, I attended on October 25, the Cedar Oak ribbon cutting as well, and I really compliment the folks who have put that together. I'm very hopeful that that's going to be a wonderful development for the city, a place to go. On Sunday, October 27th, I attended the Adolfo Camarillo birthday party celebration at the Camarillo Ranch, and this is just a shout out and a thank you to the Camarillo Ranch Foundation volunteers, to the docents. I spent a lot of time speaking with the docents over at the docent store and inside the home, and the volunteers, and I want to thank all of them for the service they provide to our community. On October 29th, with Mr. Mulchay, we had a business visit at GeoLinks, and GeoLinks is really an up-and-coming company, and for those who don't really know a lot about GeoLinks, I would encourage you to find out more, particularly their services centering on the internet and digital voice services side. On November 4th, we had a policy committee meeting with Mrs. Craven. On yesterday, November 5, I did attend the Board of Supervisors meeting relative to the discussion of medical cannabis, just because I wanted to hear the testimony. And I want to reiterate, Mr. Norman said earlier in this evening's meeting that the Board of Supervisors will have a discussion on hemp in Moore Park on November 19th, so that's 2 weeks from this evening. And I believe, Mr. Norman, you said it was going to be at 6 o'clock at the City Hall chambers for the City of Moore Park at 799 Moore Park Road?
No, it's at their community center.
I'm sorry, at their community center.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. And I would expect there are going to be a lot of people there, so hopefully it's a community center that can accommodate a lot of folks. And I would encourage you to, wherever you come out on this issue, I would encourage people to attend that meeting and voice their thoughts. And finally, Happy Veterans Day next week. I think it's so appropriate that we had the American Legion here tonight celebrating their 100th anniversary. And that's it for me.
Mrs. Craven, one or two.
I neglected to add that in addition to the policy committee, I attended an RDP 21 meeting yesterday morning. It was a really interesting meeting, I think. He talked about a transfer of the ISEA program, the in-service engineering part of what the Navy Surface Warfare Center does. And I didn't understand anything he said, but they're taking it from my age into Mr. Mulchey's age of computers. And so I think the bottom line was that in a few years, being 2030 or something like that, they won't be having all these people going out to all the ships. They'll be doing it from right here in Port Hueneme with people doing this.
Very true.
It was quite a presentation, but as I said, I didn't understand a lot of it.
Mr. Mulchay?
Charlotte, your comments my mind is blowing with a whole bunch of little rebuttals, and I won't say a single one of them. I'll be really brief. October 25th, I also attended the Cedar Oak ribbon cutting. That's going to be really great. I can't wait till the attendants go in there at that and build out that last little part down there, the commercial area. I'll definitely be in line there, getting my beer, getting my pizza, getting my ice cream. Sunday, October 27th, I also attended Adolfo's birthday celebration and the food truck rally at the Camarillo Ranch House. It was great. I got to talk to some of the volunteers, some of the board members there, and I loaded up on nothing but cakes, and so I was a big hit at home with my wife, and she loved me. Tuesday, October 29th, as Mr. Tremblay mentioned, I attended a business visit to GeoLinks, and they are a very interesting company. I'm really interested in kind of the infrastructure they're building out and the technology they're using. There is a lot of opportunity there. They are doing some great things when it comes to providing internet service to rural communities where it can't easily be reached by laying down cable. And so they're able to beam direct line of sight, stuff that's over my head I don't quite understand. I mean, I get the gist of it, but I don't know the specifics about it. But I think there's going to be a lot of opportunity for them. And I'm really hoping that they'll continue to stay in Camarillo and grow in Camarillo. So they have a lot of very ambitious plans, and I'm really looking forward to seeing those come to fruition. Lastly, a question, and I presume it's going to be to our city manager. Several months back, we had talked about an RFQ for solar power generation battery backup for City Hall in the courtyard. I was wondering what the status is of that.
Yes. In fact, I'm going to have Tully talk about that. He's been spearheading that with Roger Pichardo.
Okay.
Yeah, we received the qualifications from 5 interested vendors on October 23rd. We're currently going through and we're ranking those, and we expect within the next week to be interviewing and then shortly thereafter make a decision on how to move forward.
Do you anticipate bringing something back to council before the end of the year?
I sure hope so.
Okay. Thanks.
Okay, let's see, I attended a VRSD meeting and also the ribbon cutting at Cedar Oak, and I just want to make a couple comments on that. From my personal viewpoint on that project, when we first started talking about it, I thought to myself, how in the heck are we ever going to pull this off? And a lot of us can remember what it used to look like and what it looks like now. And it's extremely difficult to get the financing together for a project like that. And I, for one, was not sure that we would be able to pull this off. And when we got Mr. Manzi and his team together and got the plans and got him working on it, what we have now is something for all of Camarillo to be very, very proud of. It is an incredible building. It's amazing. I believe the bottom is all leased out, if I'm not mistaken, which is an incredible feat in our, retail business kind of economy here. I think they reached out and they've got very high quality tenants too. So I encourage everybody out there to go and look at that building and see what they've done there. It's spectacular to me. It looks like, one of the finest buildings I've seen in a downtown almost anywhere. I really commend the staff for sticking with this, the council for sticking with this, and the operator developer for sticking with this, and good job. It takes my breath away. Also, that's it. And I also want to thank the staff, too, for keeping the council members and as much of the public as you can informed by these last fires. The updates that we got were very, very important because I know all of us fielded a lot of different calls on this, and we were able to give as concise information as we can. And I usually don't talk about my wife, but she has a horse that she leases at the bottom of Ronald Reagan's library there. And this fire was not something that you take lightly. That whole area was scorched. So it's very serious what's happening now. We take it extremely serious here, and we try to look out for our residents to the best of our abilities, and the county in general, too. It's our county, I think, does a really outstanding job with our fire response, and a lot of individuals on the staff and the council here have a lot to do with that, too. I'm real proud of Ventura County and how they respond to these things. They don't bat 1,000, but they're really good. They're very, very highly trained individuals, and boy, does it pay off in a situation that we found ourselves in. So good job to all those. All right, so with that, I do not believe there's anything else to come before the council. So with that, we will adjourn. I'm sorry, to November, thank you, 20th at 5 p.m.